All right, I think we're actually live now. Um, it said it failed to go live the first time. Never had that, so I hope we don't have any problems. But guess what? I'm back with a rant, part two. For those of you that watched last night, and you can find the video on the channel, I did a rant about the available technology for tabletop RPGs, whether that's technology you use at the table, but more importantly, and more pointedly, technology that you use away from the table. Campaign organization is the main thing I'm talking about. But oh yes, last night's incoherent, unorganized rant somehow got viewers. Somehow they reached out to me. Somehow I've already had talks with multiple people regarding what we talked about and the ideas we had last night. And so, like I said, if that unorganized rant could bring that about, then tonight should be even better, because tonight I actually have some organization, some things that I definitely want to talk about. Yesterday, it just kind of boiled over, and I got to the point where I was fed up with, the level of technology we have available to us in the hobby. And I just started to hang out, started ranting. I think I got some good points across, but tonight I realized there's a lot of things I didn't talk about that I'm going to rant about in what we're going to call the plight of the tech-savvy gamer. Because let's be honest, people in our hobby are not stupid. Overall, a lot of intelligent people partake in this hobby. A lot of people who are good with technology as well, and a lot of people who could utilize that to make their games, 10 times better than they are. And the main thing I talked about yesterday that I tried to drive home was that we have the capabilities for these things. We just don't have the actual product. So today what I'm going to basically rant on is a little bit more on kind of the evolution of technology in RPGs. A lot of Wizards of the Coast talk, but a lot of that branches off into some other things. So if I keep looking down, forgive me, but I have learned about this fantastic new app or program that has a lot to do with what we were talking about. It's called MindMeister. And thank you. I had somebody email me with a bunch of ideas, but they mentioned this. And so I actually used it to organize this little talk we're going to have. But MindMeister is a mind mapping tool that you could actually do a lot of world building and campaign organization with. But the main thing is it's a good example of where tabletop RPG tech should be. It looks good. It's very streamlined. It's accessible from the web. It's got apps that connect, like I designed it on my computer. Now I've got my mind map on my iPad. And so I've got some organization. Anyways, this is an example. This product right here is better than some of the stuff that we have out already. So we'll talk a little bit about Wizards of the Coast, about the solution that I proposed yesterday, what's already happened with that, and where we're going with it. As always, toss your questions or comments in the chat because I've got it up and I'm watching it. So let's start with the 4th edition D&D era of technology. This is where I came about, where my D&D career started, was with 4th edition. Now, regardless of the actual system, they had a bunch of online tools. And so I'm very aware of the technology that was present at that time. I still have the 4th edition bookshelf, as I call it, this entire shelf right there, 4th edition product. And the core rule books at the very back still have an advertisement for this virtual tabletop that was going to be released and got canceled. I don't know the details of that. I know it was kind of back and forth for a while. It's kind of goofy if you look at the picture of what it was going to be, but this virtual tabletop that Wizards of the Coast never actually finished. And that is a good thing, I think, because I think the evolution of tabletop RPG technology basically got to a point where the virtual tabletop never needed to be a thing. I think they overestimated tech in RPGs because they knew the capabilities were out there for something great to bring people together on the internet to play. And they wanted this focus was right here in the middle, in this virtual tabletop where you could have miniatures that you move around. That would bring people together. And what they underestimated, because they never really built a good product, first of all, for that. Roll20 probably has the best one out there. There's a couple others that are pretty good. But they're not nearly as successful because of just that virtual tabletop. What they underestimated was the fact that we as gamers, we don't care so much what's right here, what's right in front of us. If this tool that's in front of us, if this virtual tabletop, whatever it is, if it's not actually enhancing the interaction between the people, we don't care. That's not what we want. And so you can see this with this recurring virtual tabletop that just continued to fail. And at this point, they're not going to build one because they know we don't want it. What we wanted in the progression of the hobby got into live streaming, hangouts, with very minimal tools. Like there's some dice rollers, you can present pictures. I mean, the most basic things. That's what we wanted, because what we care more about is the story, the interaction with each other, than this super complicated, super fancy product in between us. And so that's part of the thing, part of the solution that I'm talking about, is it can't just be this big fancy set of tools. It's got to be very integrated both within the actual people using it, but it's got to feed and drive the story and help enhance all of that. But yeah, virtual tabletop during the 4th edition era and possibly before is a great example of how Wizards of the Coast has failed in the technology arena. Some other ones, let's be honest, WotC does not have a good history with being like the top tech guys. Like they just don't. During the 4th edition era, their website was an absolute disaster. I'm assuming it was before that. But for the times, I don't know. I do know during 4E, it was just crappy website. Now it's getting a little bit better. We'll talk more about that in the 5E era. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But they had that terrible website. They had a set of 4th edition insider tools that I paid for and used a lot. You had access to the Dungeon and Dragon magazines, which were PDF magazines, which I thought were fantastic. Probably the best part of that insider package was access to those, the articles, the adventures. A lot of adventures went unappreciated because people didn't buy an insider subscription, but there was good stuff in there. But they had a set of tools like, let's see, they had like a monster creator, character builder, and one called like an adventure tools thing, I think. Anyways, you could basically access like digital copies of their 4E stat blocks, if you know what those look like. But they were terrible tools. A lot of it was based in the Microsoft Silverlight player, which is in itself a mess. Google Chrome doesn't even support that anymore. That goes to tell you how good that is nowadays. There's just better options. And anyways, that super clunky 4th edition character builder, you needed it in 4th edition just because of, especially at the high level, the sheer amount of other content. And like if you're a wizard and you're level 25, you got a 16-page character sheet. Like nobody wants to do that by hand. And so you buy the tools, super wonky. They had all the stuff in there, obviously, from like the extended like magazines and adventures. But what they didn't have was a friendly user front. It was ugly as sin, number one. Just the ugliest character builder ever. It didn't work that well. You would click on something and then wait and wait and wait, and then a new page would pop up. No indication of loading or anything. It would just almost like if you clicked on that button, it would just freeze until the new page eventually decided to appear. So the set of tools just did what it needed to do, but not in a good way. We're more advanced than that. We can make better products than that. So again, those 4th edition character builder tools, all those tools are just, they were garbage from a tech standpoint. And so Wizards of the Coast during the 4th edition era, not impressive at all. But it gets interesting as we progress to the 5th edition era. It starts with a couple of branching out ideas they had. Number one, the website. The website got redesigned. Looks a lot better now. It's still not great, especially if you're looking for older content. The new stuff's fantastic. I'll be honest. Their new website layout, the presentation of the newest articles, they're easy to find, looks good. All of that, very modern. Still tough to find that old stuff. They got a weird inner working of that old archive in there. So anyways, they made improvements there, which surprised me. Because again, when you think Wizards of the Coast, you don't think tech savvy. At least I don't. And then they announced codename or Project Morningstar for 5th edition. A company called Trapdoor Technologies was working on codename Morningstar, which is going to be this set of tools, kind of what we're talking about, but a set of tools and an app that you could use with 5th edition or D&D Next when it came out. I don't remember the details if they got to the beta test or just the alpha. Anyways, they released something, this Trapdoor Technologies company. Some people really liked it, I'll be honest. Some people really liked it. Again, I'm really picky about what stuff looks like and how technology works. I thought it was garbage. I was so disappointed in Trapdoor Technologies, at least what was released at first. It could have become something better, sure, especially after beta testing, feedback, all that. But what was out and the direction it looked like they were headed with it just looked like crap. And I was like, oh man, Wizards of the Coast, you redesigned your website to look so much better, and then you go and you start building crap again. A plus side, they were going to somebody else to do it. It was not as much of an internal thing. They realized, let's go get other people who know how to build these tools to do it. The problem was with Trapdoor Technologies, they chose the wrong people. But again, Wizards of the Coast comes back kind of as the hero, and, well, not to this company, but they drop Trapdoor Technologies and that project. One day, kind of out of the blue to a lot of us gamers and users, the partnership ends. Wizards of the Coast announced something along the lines of the project just was not progressing in the direction they wanted or at the speed they wanted, or a combination of both, I'm sure. And a lot of people were disappointed and pissed at Wizards. I was celebrating because A, I thought the product was crap. B, this was Wizards of the Coast doing something good, in my opinion. So codename Morningstar was killed. I was happy because it looks to me like Wizards is actually kind of getting their head straight with this tech stuff. But again, they're reaching out to other people to do a lot of these things, which is, again, good, especially if they can't bring on the designers and developers to build these awesome products. They need to partner with people who can and people who have that talent. And so anyways, that leads to some more partnerships in the future. But first of all, what they do, and with the website redesign at some point, I'm getting the timeline way off here, that some of this stuff's mixed in. At one point, just recently, maybe this last October, they killed the forums on the Wizards website, the community. And I think it was actually redesigned not long before that, like within the previous year or so. They killed the forums. They gave plenty of heads up, like, hey, we're shutting down the Wizards community for D&D. It is what it is. Again, to me, and I know there were a lot of other people who used it a lot. I didn't use it much. I had an account and I posted things there, and I looked through it sometimes, but it was an unorganized mess of a place. I'm not a huge fan of forums anyways, so I'm kind of biased here. But EN World, I think it was, kind of announced that they would basically take on all these different forums, like, hey, you're losing your home, come over here. We're going to help transition. So that was good for the people who wanted it. But it was another sign to me that Wizards of the Coast was taking their money and energy and time and focusing in on things that actually mattered more. And that community, the forums, the management of that, it was not a good set of tools. It was not it was just not what it needed to be, and they dropped it. And again, I'm happy because of that. Um, and in all of this, I'm biased. My opinion, I didn't use those much, but it was a focus on things that they needed to focus on to me. So that's part of what they did. Then you get into the video games, and they've done video games and partnered with people in video games for a while. There's really old video games like Baldur's Gate, more recent ones like the newer Neverwinter, Dungeons and Dragons Online, a bunch of those. If you ask me, are those necessary? Not at all. I think some of them are probably fun. I think I played D&D online, just like a free quick trial, and it was kind of fun. But I don't think they need to be putting money and energy into that. Just my opinion. But Sword Coast Legends was announced, and I think it's fully out now. There's going to be some updates to it, upgrades. It was kind of a big disappointment when it was released, but it was going to have like a Dungeon Master mode where you could actually build like levels that players could then adventure through. And you could actually be a Dungeon Master while they're playing. So let's say they're in the front of the dungeon you're building. You could be over here building traps in another room while they're playing through what you've already built. And then you can kind of fly your camera back, watch them do a bunch of things, which in theory is sweet. Like that's really cool. But I think it's taking the virtual tabletop to another level again. Like to me, it's just like a more advanced version of the virtual tabletop. You're playing D&D. It's a big tool. It's a huge tool, like between all of you. But they went and partnered with another company who knew how to do it. So they made something better than they ever could have. But again, that's something totally separate. But it's not a campaign manager. They don't have a good campaign manager. Like, I'm just going to drive this home. It's so much cheaper to make than a video game. So why haven't you made a really good one? If you're listening. But partnerships, more recent ones, getting out of the video game arena. The more recent ones are partnership with like Fantasy Grounds, which for 5th edition, a lot of people were waiting for like a character builder. We're waiting for all of this stuff. And so Fantasy Grounds got part of like a partial license to use 5th edition stuff. And I don't know jack about Fantasy Grounds, I'll be honest. I don't know if it's another like Roll20 style thing. Like when I think of Fantasy Grounds, I think of Roll20, like similar concepts, but I could be totally wrong because I don't know anything about it. But I was kind of disappointed that they were putting so much stock into that and not making something, they're putting something into another company's product, which is fine, but not what I wanted. And then I think they announced, I thought I saw in the RPG Brigade, somebody posted that they announced a partnership with the company who owns Realmworks, which I think is called like Lone Wolf or something, like Hero Lab, which is kind of cool because I've heard Hero Lab's really cool. And we've talked about Realmworks. Again, I'm kind of disappointed. Like, I hope that's not a huge amount of their stock going into that or a huge project. I think it'd be nice to give those companies licenses to have D&D stuff, but I hope they're not making that like the central place. Like, there's your campaign manager, use Realmworks with 5e or whatever. Because again, my opinion on that, I don't think Realmworks is what we need in the hobby right now. And yeah, it's not web-based. It's not even for more than one, it's just on Windows. So yeah, that's kind of the history or the evolution of where technology has gone with like Wizards of the Coast. They're branching out using other companies now, which is fine, but they're not really making like a centralized product. Like, and not just me, but the people I talked to yesterday both on Facebook and just through emails. And they all kind of agreed that there's a missing component in tabletop RPGs. There's this kind of vacuum, if you will, in the area of campaign management. There's not just like there's not just this amazing set of tools out there for it. And there's no reason for that other than people keep putting time and energy into other things that we don't care about as much. Because as you saw with the virtual tabletop failure and the rise of Google Hangouts games, Skype games, the gamers don't care so much about this super fancy product. They want a set of tools that's going to enhance their interaction. When you've got a set of tools that can kind of fade into the background and just make things easier for you, but not take over, that's what we want. Like, that's what we're talking about here. And again, people have sent messages actually since yesterday. There being like comments, and I don't think people are actually watching these videos because some of them are commenting about, tech at the table, and they don't use tech at the table for whatever reason. That's not what this is about at all. So I really don't think they're watching, but we just want a good set of campaign management tools that can be highly customizable to your situation or to your game type, and that can really just add to the story that you can really use to enhance everything. But they don't take center stage like a virtual tabletop. It's not like a platform where when you sit down at the table, you're like, all right, everybody bring up your computers. It wouldn't need to do that. So anyways, I said yesterday, never bitch about a problem without a solution. So here in a second, I'm going to talk about that, but I see we have a question. Is there a novel writing software that could be adapted as a tabletop organizer? So what I'm using, I don't know if you heard at the start, what I'm using for my notes right now, and this came in a conversation through email with somebody who emailed me after yesterday's video. He brought up that there's a product called MindMeister. Just look it up. It's a mind mapping software, super software company. You can tell just by the look and layout of the website and the product that it works very well. It's very modern. This is like what I think we need, something like this or at this level for tabletop RPGs. But you can kind of map out thoughts. You could make a world here. You could do so much, like a set of tools that has just kind of like endless possibilities. Not just one way to use them is what we're thinking. And so look up MindMeister and check that out, because it's what I'm using. And when I get off this stream, I can guarantee you I'm going to go start world building on this just to check it out. There's a free option. There are paid options to do even more things. I think you can get a personal account of MindMeister for like $6 a month. But again, you can just do a free one too to play around, experiment. You think you can have up to like 3 maps. If you do the free one, I think if you pay any level of paid subscription, you get unlimited. But a tool like this is a good framework. And regarding the tools yesterday, Obsidian Portal and Realmworks were the two that I talked about the most. I bashed on them a lot, especially Obsidian Portal, but I bash on these things because I love them. I've always been a huge proponent of Obsidian Portal. You guys know that. All of my campaign settings are on there. I still use it. They're going through rough patch right now. I get that. But if Realmworks, if the guts of Realmworks, the possibilities and the power behind Realmworks and the things you can do with it, if a set of tools like that was as modern, looked as good as, and felt like Obsidian Portal, just in the more ease of use, then we're on the right track. A super powerful tool It's super easy. And I know this sounds like, yeah, you just want something that's amazing and super easy. It'd be a lot of hard work, but it's not impossible. And those are the talks I've started having with people since yesterday. So again, don't bitch about a problem unless you have a solution. And my solution is to start talking about this. I started in emails and in conversations, multiple conversations on Facebook yesterday, where we started talking about what this could be, and with people who care enough to talk about the project. So I'm encouraging everyone who watches this to send me an email. My email address is in the description, with ideas you have. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What things would you want in an RPG software program or like a campaign organizer? What set of tools do you feel like you're missing and that you just haven't seen? Because we're starting to talk about these things. The goal is to talk to as many people as we can. Like, we want your ideas and we want to know what you want at this point. This is not about we just want your money. Trust me, money is not in this. At this point, it's not going to be for a long time. But once we have some solid ideas and we've put together our team, then the goal is to actually conceptualize and design a product, however much we can, and deliver it. Like, we're not just going to sit here, bitch about this problem and do nothing about it. Because at this point, no one has built what we want. So we're going to take the reins and do it. It might take some time, but we've all got a very similar vision. The people I've talked to, and everyone's been just adding more and more and more to the creativity behind this and what is actually possible. So again, whether you're like a developer, programmer, whether you're into computers in any respect, or whether you're just into tabletop RPGs or both, any of that, reach out just to talk at this point. Because like I said, we've got so many awesome ideas. This is something we want to do the right way from day one, which means taking it slow, really, really chiseling down to what is the bare essentials. What's going to be the bare minimum that people need? Because there's a famous quote, and I don't know it off the top of my head, but it talks about art is what is left when there's nothing left to take away, or something like that. Meaning, to get something truly beautiful, truly artistic, a work of art, you don't just keep adding things to it, but rather you build something and then you reduce it to its core. You strip away the unnecessary and deliver just the good product. So, short rant tonight. I had to rant about the Wizards of the Coast stuff because I forgot all of it yesterday. But if you're watching this, send me an email down in the description. Just let me know any ideas you have. And we're not just stealing ideas here, but we more so want to know, like, what kind of tools do you wish you had as a game master, as a player? Like, what sort of technology do you wish you had at the table? Or could you visualize using at the table? Because at this point, like, we don't pretend to know exactly what everyone wants and needs. We have a very clear vision of this, but we also need to know what everybody thinks. So send the email, leave a comment or whatever. I'm going to end this stream here because that's all I've got and I don't want to drag it out. But we'll see you in the next video, and I'll keep everyone posted. But like I said, email me, comment, and thanks for watching.